Hey, I'm Matt. This is a 10-minute Bible Hour comment response video. Are we calling it that now? I don't know, something like that. Whatever the case, I could obviously be inside in front of a boring beige background to do this, but I thought it'd be more fun to come out for the first beautiful October snow of the season and sit out here where it's peaceful and beautiful. The last video was kind of a thought exercise thing where we wrestled with the question, if we assume there's no God, then what other explanations might there be for the social phenomenon that is the Bible? And as somebody who thinks there is a God and that God is behind the Bible, I think it's a useful thing for me to game out stuff like that from time to time, just to further think through why I think what I think. And the comment section was great in follow-up to that. So once again, thank you to everybody who contributed. Whew, you see the little shiver? Oh, I'm cold. There was one comment that stood out to me from a guy named Jochem Kuipers, who wrote, I think you can do a better job of trying to be unbiased and really consider some of the stronger arguments against God being behind the Bible, which is a fair point. Obviously, we can always do better at trying to shed our biases, but let's also be honest, it's very hard to shed our biases. So one of the things that we can do in lieu of that is to put our heads together with people who think about it a little differently. He goes on to write, the strongest question that raises for me is whether Christianity can exist without acknowledging the existence of God, or whether everything about it depends on the answer to this question. What does Christianity mean if God is an abstract concept versus a real entity? Wow. Okay, first of all, I think it's a great question in the larger context of world religions, because there are a bunch of religions where the existence of deity or lesser supernatural beings just isn't that important to the ethics or the lifestyle that goes along with said religion. You've got religions that are effectively more of a philosophy or more rooted in right thought or right relationship or balance with the world around you. The core teachings of Christianity, though, are all predicated on the idea that there is a God, that God exists eternally, that God is engaging in a redemptive plan, and that humans are kind of the main part of the object of that redemptive plan at whom it's directed. So we think about some of the teachings of Jesus, like love your neighbor as yourself, love your enemy, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, turn the other cheek. And we're like, wow, that sounds like it would work just fine even if there were no deity behind Christianity. And it's true, I think it does work. But you get much deeper than that and it starts to break down because, like take for example the Beatitudes, where Jesus is explaining the notion of his kingdom and his role as king and the values of this kingdom. He says things like, blessed are the meek, for they'll inherit the earth. Well, if there's no God behind Christianity, if there's no actual personal deity, that's a hollow promise, because the meek are not going to inherit the earth. The meek are going to suffer and get trampled on. If we read on where he says, blessed are those who mourn, for they'll be comforted. Well, if there's no God, there's certainly no guarantee that that comfort will happen. In fact, all of the upside down rules of the kingdom of Jesus, the stuff about valuing other people. What? Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good. Cool, I'm going to finish recording this video. Okay. You want to play video games in a sec? No. Cue it up. Okay. Probably cactus. Seems like we have a job to do here in a minute, so I better wrap this up. And also, it's cold. I mean, this is really one of the profound, difficult, challenging truths of Christianity that keeps people coming back who think about it. It does flow out of the character of a God who claims to be personal and present and invested, and it is not just a life philosophy. Look, I think a bunch of the values, shivering, and the philosophies of Christianity work pretty well culturally, governmentally, but in terms of Jochem's question itself, I don't think the religion holds up without a personal God behind it. And the Bible itself, at one point through the words of Paul, suggests that it doesn't hold up. He, at one point, says that we're pitiable, that it's embarrassing almost for us to believe this stuff and pursue this stuff as Christians, not only if there isn't a God, but if Jesus Christ has not been raised from the dead. And so I guess to answer your question or to wrap up here, you have to take it a step further and acknowledge that it isn't just even the presence of a God that seems to be necessary for Christianity to make sense, but also it's predicated on the idea that Jesus is his son and came back from the dead. Again, that's a lot to chew on, and it's pretty weighty stuff, pretty weighty presuppositions, but Christianity is a pretty weighty thing. So thanks for the question. I appreciate it. I appreciate that we get to share a community of people in conversation who don't necessarily think the same stuff, but we get to think about the same stuff. And I owe my kid video games before bedtime, so I'm out. Catch you soon.